My name is Larry Winters. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I thought I'd speak to you a little bit about my thoughts about Veterans Day this 2014. I am 66 years old and still search for the courage to speak with a true voice. Why do I say this when we live in a free country? You may wonder. Free country is a misnomer for me. When we send children to war for supposed moral reasons, freedom has been lost. Why we go to war is truly unknown to the American public. U.S. leaderships, organizations such as the CIA, Homeland Security, and Blackwater is where truth is kept a secret, allegedly for our own protection. Even the soldiers who risked their lives did not know truly for what. Let's add the families of those soldiers who will never know accurately what their child's sacrifice was for. The only way such a system might work is if we trusted those in government to be looking out for those of us who go to war, those of us who are related to those who go to war. It's blatantly apparent that trust has been compensated by corruption upon corruption in these before-mentioned organizations. Massive financial fraud has been revealed, making human life no more than a commodity. Blackwater is an instrument to avoid the code of military justice. The U.S. uses third world mercenaries whose deaths do not become part of our troop losses, keeping the public from feeling the full pain of the war. Statistically, young, uninitiated men and women are still signing up for the military. Could this be because jobs and career opportunities are so minimal, the military becomes the last resort? Do politicians in the military use the continued enrollment of soldiers as a way to prove that what is being done is morally correct? Otherwise, young folks would not be making such commitments. What's really on my mind is, what do veteran suicides indicate? Is the battlefield experience driving self-murder? Or is the politically correct comments that society has learned to speak from the Vietnam War era and being used now in our airports and our workplaces, the "thank you for your service"? Or might it be the fact that most of the educated in our country do not believe the wars we are fighting in are worth the risk of human life? Shortly after 9/11, the wars became a financial boon for big business. Through big business's powerful political maneuvering, they supported the continuation of war for financial gain. In their minds, the small loss of American soldiers was worth the profit margin. Has any American political leader taken into account the enormous human loss of the enemy, which are mostly civilians and children? Have we carved dollar signs into their tombstones? An astounding figure I read in an article titled "Outsourcing the War on Terror" by Petrep Chatterjee was that Americans paid Halliburton $40 billion to feed our troops for the last 10 years. To kill an enemy in front of you who is trying to kill you is one thing. And yet another thing, to kill an enemy from a great distance by pushing buttons. America leads modern warfare with its unmanned drones and highly technical killing machines. The great distance from the battlefield dissipates fear of your own death. I ask you to consider that this may actually allow moral issues surrounding war to surface more quickly. That for those who end up face to face with death in the war zone, There is the possibility for great trauma when killing someone or having someone trying to kill you. Battlefield events can take years, if not a lifetime, to sort out before there is enough trust for morality to emerge within the internal world of a soldier. For the button pushers, morality has not been dislocated by trauma and could even appear at the dinner table in your own home after a day of joystick killing in your office stateside. What really gets me is how academics and philosophers rationalize why humans go to war. They make the topic so convoluted. I can only imagine it allows them to distance from the dangerous word, morality. They can ignore the fact that the military has one training focus for its soldiers, that is to kill the enemy. Somehow academics can snub the commentary that comes from the frontline soldiers, often saying they do not have an unbiased perspective. Besides, soldiers in general are less educated and come from the lower classes. Anyway, if frontline soldiers were actually listened to, instead of being labeled as novelistic, the military would crumble. Because some soldiers have spoken out in public in such organizations as Winter Soldier, the U.S. has begun to rely more on third world mercenaries whose deaths never get reported. Public courage is needed for this to change. If the public were to stand for truth about the wars we fight in, we could then determine if war is worth the lives of our children. There are many politicians and academics that do not believe the general public is capable of making such decisions. I ask, should we continue to trust politicians and scholars who convolute the simplicity of life and death to make decisions about our children's lives? Their children seldom confront the battlefield.